And now he says he's going to tell us what's going on. This is very interesting here. شذاذها الذي الطريق يقطع على جميع السالكين الطمع. Shidhav was he was a brigand from Bani Dabbah. And so the Arabs, they use him as أقطع من شذاذ. He's like a proverb. If you want to say somebody's a really bad robber, then they say أقطع من شذاذ. You know, he's more of a brigand than even شذاذ. So he's saying شذاذها, this brigand that يقطع الطريق, that means like a highway robber. يقطع الطريق, severs the road. على جميع السالكين, on all those people trying to get to their Lord, this brigand that's going to stop you on the road and try to rob you of your rewards with Allah is tama', covetousness. So we go back to this source disease of desire, right? The Arif Billah, Abu Abbas al-Mursi said one day, أردت أن أشتري شيئا ممن يعرفني فقلت لعله يحابيني فنوديت السلامة في الدين بترك الطمع في المخلوقين. He said Abu Abbas al-Mursi was once in the marketplace and he was going to buy something and he saw somebody he knew, and he was a very righteous man. He was known for scholarship and his spirituality, and so he thought, if I go to that person, he'll say, oh, I'll give you a deal because he's a religious person. And he said he heard a call, nuditu. He got a call, like a hatif. And the hatif told him that as-salama fi din, right? To be sound in your deen, bi tarka tam'a fi al-makhluqeen, is not to have desire for created things. So that is how you have a sound deen, is to lose that tam'a in other people, no matter what. And that's what he's warning us against, because again, if you look at these previous diseases, riya, sum'a, right, all these things, tama'. Sum'a is tama' and riya is tama'. You think you're going to get something from them, right? You think that you're going to get something from them. And the tama', the reason for tama', according to Sidi Ahmed Zarruq, radiyallahu anhu, is ghafla. You forget that you become heedless that Allah is nafi' and dar. Human beings don't have anything to benefit you. So there's a ghafla that comes on the heart, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us about that very often in the Quran. Right? And one of the verses is a reminder, Inna Allahu wa razaq. Allah, He is the razaq. He's the one that provides for you. Another one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that in yamsiska Allahu bi durrin fala kashifa lahu. Right? La huwa subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah gives you a harm, there's nobody that can remove that harm except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the famous hadith, when the Prophet ﷺ saw Ibn Abbas, he said, Ya ghulam, right? He called Ibn Abbas, he said, I'm going to teach you some words. Amongst what he taught him was that if all of the creation got together to harm you, and Allah didn't decree it for you, they couldn't do it. And if all of creation got together to prevent some harm getting to you, they couldn't prevent it. Right? It's over. The ink has been lifted, the pens are dry. Right? The pens have been lifted, the ink is dry. It's over. So everything that's going to happen to you, you have to recognize it's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you should desire Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not what people have. And then like, give me an example. People wish you ill, how though? I mean, they say bad things against you? Well, if you're straight with Allah, then their prayer is going to be of no benefit. If you're oppressing them, then you should have fear, because the Prophet ﷺ said, fear the prayer of the oppressor. If you're not an oppressor, you don't have any fear of their prayer. If you're not oppressing them or anybody else, then you shouldn't have any fear, because somebody who's making a prayer against you, that's zulm against you. And it'll just go back to them. It doesn't go back to you, it'll go back to them. And that's their business. Somebody's making a prayer against you, that's their business. Allah didn't tell us to make prayers against people unless they're oppressors. لا عدوان إلا على الظالمين. There's no aggression except against oppressors. And he said, الدعاء سلاح المؤمن. The prayer is the weapon of the mu'min. That's the only weapon that a lot of mu'mineen have, right? There's a lot of places where the mu'mineen are completely bereft of any ability to defend themselves. All they have is dua, and dua is not to say that all they have, because it's a lot. Dua is very powerful. And Allah answers the prayers of those who call on Him sincerely. So, I wouldn't worry about people doing that unless they have justifiable reason, and then you should ask them to forgive you if something was done that warrants that. Ghafla is heedlessness. And what Sidi Ahmed Zaruq said is the reason for tam'a is ghafla, that you're heedless of the way creation really works. If you think somebody can benefit you, it's a ghafla. You're forgetting. It's just like somebody, you say, somebody was sick and you say, how are you? And they say, I'm doing great. I took this incredible medicine. It was really beneficial and I feel great. And they forget. It's a ghafla. They're a mu'min, but they're attributing something that shouldn't be attributed to the medicine. They say, Alhamdulillah, shafani Allah. Allah cured me. I took some medicine, inshallah Allah put a cure in it for me. He cured me through it. But to think that the medicine, and people do that, it's a ghafla. And if you remind them and say, no, Allah cured you, oh, astaghfirullah, sahih, of course, right? That's what people say. So human beings go into ghafla. They go into this forgetfulness that they don't remember how things really work. And one of their ghaflas is that people can harm and benefit you. That's a ghafla. Because they can't. There's no way they can harm or benefit you unless Allah wants it. And especially, obviously when you're dealing with armies and military formation, you have to be very realistic, because you're in the realm of asbab. But when you're dealing with rizq and ibadah and riya and tama' and sum'a and these diseases, it's all just waham. There's no foundation for it. Well, ghafla is it's a disease. Ghafla is a disease of the heart. It's a bad one. Some will say, actually, Imam al-Junayd said, the only disease is ghafla. He actually said that is the disease. He said that he never saw any wrong action except it was a result of ghafla. Any wrong action. In other words, if you're really in a state of awareness of Allah, there's no way you can do wrong. So he actually felt that it was the source disease. What? Ghafala, mughaffal means a simpleton. Mughaffal. Somebody who's easy to fool. So ghafla is a state where you're being fooled. The ghafil is fooling himself by not remembering how things really are. So it's a careless heedlessness, stupidity. It's a type of stupidity, only it can be temporary. It's not permanent. And then he says, فَهُوَ مَجَرَّةٌ لِكُلِّ ضَيْرِ كَغِيبَةٍ وَكَبَنَاتِ غَيْرِ. He says, this tama' really, it is the cause of every harm, like ghiba. Why are you talking bad about somebody? What's the benefit? There's some tama' there. There's something. Why do you want to speak bad about somebody to somebody else? What is it that you want? You want that other person to have a bad opinion of that person that you're speaking bad about? That's tama'. You're desiring something. So there's some desire, because there's no reason to do it unless you think you're deriving something out of it, right? And banati ghayri is a word for the lying. So people who lie also. You lie because people want benefit. لو سيل ما حرفته قال اكتساب وشغل قلب في الصلاة والثناء مينا ولا بد أن يداهنا. It will also preoccupy your prayer preoccupy your heart during the prayer. Right? Preoccupation of the heart during one's prayer. And insincere praise of others. Tama' will cause you to say things about people you don't believe. Like the salesman. You look great in that. And he just wants to sell it. He could care less. But he's not going to tell you it's horrible, you look terrible, you know. He's going to say, you look really good in that. Right? I bought a cheap pair of glasses once that they were ugly, but they were inexpensive, and I got them, and the person said to me, "Oh, those are really nice." I said, "I think they're really terrible, but you know, it's good price." And they said to me, "Yeah, you're right." Right? It's just fun. Why are they saying that? Because they want me to buy the glasses, come back another time, whatever. Have a nice day, you know. Ching ching. And you can see in sales, you learn that, right? People that are salespeople, they know this better than anybody else. It's all about tama'. When the guy walks through the door, there's tama'. You want to sell something, you have tama'. And that tama' makes you do certain things that you wouldn't normally do. Like there's people you'll talk to and be nice to that you wouldn't give the time of day if you saw them in normal circumstances, right? Because there's tama' there. And that's why التاجر الصادق مع الشهداء. The truthful merchant is with the martyrs on the Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's a hadith. The truthful merchant is with the martyrs, which means he doesn't have tama' in his heart. Now how do you say, how can you be a merchant and not have tama'? Because he sees everything coming from Allah. If Allah brings him a customer, it's Allah bringing His provision to him. If he doesn't buy anything, Allah didn't decree it. And he can just be a human being. He doesn't have to lie. He doesn't have to tell him how wonderful everything is. He can just be a human being. One of the things in traditional cultures, and in some places, like some people in Fes will still do this. In traditional cultures, when you went into the marketplace, they had aswaq, right? These were like rows of hanut, stores. Now, in America, the dumbest thing that you can do in marketing is what? Build a place next to a place where they're selling the same thing. I mean, anybody, right? Anybody been to business school? You always do your marketing analyses, right? And you find out, is there a need for this thing? Well, why would in traditional societies, why would they put them all in the same place? And so they call it suq al-attarin, right? They'll call it suq al, whatever they're selling. And this, you go to Damascus, right? Everybody knows where the suq of the clothes, where they all are. The suq of the iskafiyin, where they sell the shoes. Right? Everybody knows where to go. They're all sitting there. Not only do they all sit there together, but traditionally, they usually prayed together. They were friends. They often were in guilds together. And actually apprenticed people, and they were often attended the same circles, had the same sheikhs. They were best friends. Seriously. What would happen is, if this guy who had the first store, he sold enough for the day, he would shut down and go back to home or go to the masjid and let his other brothers get what they needed. Now, I'm not making this up. It's hard to believe that there were actually people like this on the planet. But it's really true. And there's still a few left. I mean, they're really old usually, and their sons think they're idiots. Right? Because they've been to business school and have their MBAs now. Right? No, seriously. There's all these books, How to Swim Amongst the Sharks. Right? No, there's business books in this culture teaching you how. They have an ad in, I think it was Time or U.S. News and World Report. It shows this guy looking in the mirror, a young guy looking in the mirror. He's in like a hotel, and it says he's going to eat the competition for breakfast. And then down below, written on the window, and then down below it says, and then he's going to take his kids to Marine World. And it's like an ad for a hotel. But the point is, that is American culture. And that's something, yeah, we really did it to them, didn't we? We wiped out the competition. That is exactly how, and that is what this country is all about, competitive capitalism. Wipe out the competition, right? Whoever's in your way, eat him for breakfast. Native Americans, no problem. Send them blankets with smallpox, we'll wipe them all out. Right? Oh, the Iraqis, they're causing problems with the oil. No, we want to keep the oil down. Right? So just bomb them, blow them out. We'll eat them for breakfast. Right? That's what we'll do. We'll send them back into the Stone Ages. We'll bomb them so badly, they won't recover for decades. And it's the same mentality. Wallahi, it's the same mentality. And this is why these big events that occur, like the bombing of Iraq, are nothing other than these small, petty little events blown up to big proportions. Because it's the same mentality that creates it. The exact same mentality. So this is the world and this is what he's saying is, we want to purify ourselves from all this stuff. We don't want to be like that. We want to actually coexist with other people. Right? The Prophet ﷺ said the disease, da'ul umam, is tanafus, competition over dunya. That is the disease of civilizations. And he said that is what will destroy them in the end. Because in the end, if here's your philosophy, us against them, the problem is their philosophy is us against them. So everybody's philosophy is us against them. And unfortunately for other people, you're their them, just like they're your us. Right? So you wipe them all out, in the end everybody gets wiped out, right? Because they're out to wipe you out, you're out to wipe them out. So it's a deep disease, tama'. Some of them said that tama', that the huruf of tama' are all mujawwafa. Right? These are like sucking, there's no way to fill them up. That you always desire more. You'll never get what you want. In fact, the Greeks had a concept for it called eros. Right? They differentiated between different types of desire. Agape and eros. And eros is like a longing. It's a desire that's never fulfilled. It's never fulfilled. Right? And it's like just always wanting more and more and more. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said that the son of Adam, that nothing will fill his mouth, jawf, nothing except the dirt in his own grave. If he had one mountain of gold, he'd just desire a second one. Nothing's going to fill you. And then he said, لا يشبع اثنان طالب العلم وطالب الدنيا. Two people will never be quenched, seekers of knowledge and seekers of dunya. So you choose. You choose, right? Those are the two people that are going to be insatiated in the world. And you're either one or the other. You're either seeking knowledge or you're seeking dunya. That's it. No other choices in this world. Uh-huh. Right. I mean, in other words, tama', if it's for Allah, that's a good tama'. Do you see what I mean? In other words, if you desire Allah, tama' is a human urge. It's in us. It's there. I mean, all of us have desire. What he's saying is, the disease is when you desire other than Allah. You think some benefit is in other than Allah. The same with hasad. If you're envying people because you don't think they deserve what they have. No, but if you see somebody who's outstripping you, you should want to be like them. In fact, that impetus might make you start doing things that they're doing in order to become a better person. So those are utilizing these things to your advantage. Now listen to this. This is so brilliant, I thought. He says, لو سيل ما حرفته قال اكتساب مذلة. If you ask desire, what's your trade? It'll answer earning humiliation. That's the hirfa. Or if you ask about his father, he would say, doubt concerning the divine measuring out. There's not coming to me. Or if you ask him about his goal, he would say it's the deprivation of the very thing that he desires. Okay? Allahu Akbar. Now another thing. In the Khatimah, and this is really important, so I want everybody to really listen closely here. Tama'a, what he's saying here is that tama'a is you're desiring something. And what's been allotted to us in this life is called rizq. And there's some really important concepts here. One of them is rarely does He use two names with the same attribute. You'll find it, like Ghafir, Ghafoor, things like that, right? He's Ar-Razaq and He's Ar-Raziq, right? And we're called Marzuq. We are Marzuq. We're the ones, the passive form. And what we're getting is called rizq. And I mentioned last week there's a difference of opinion about rizq. Some say it's what you actually benefit from, and others say it's whatever you have. Dominant opinion is what you benefit. وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا وَعَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا. There's nothing on the earth except its rizq is from Allah. Allah is giving it its rizq. Now, because the nature of the world is that Allah has divided the provision of people, the arzaq of people. And there's two types of arzaq. There's rizq which is batini, and there's rizq which is lahiri. Those are the two types. The zahir, the rizq that is outward, is your food, your health, those type things that we can see. The batini rizq is things like your company, your knowledge, the things that you actually learn, the character that you have, all of these type things, right? Now, if you look, one of the interesting things about life is the fact that the same people keep showing up in your life. This is a very strange phenomenon about life. When you realize that there's 5 billion people on the planet, and yet if you actually think of the main people that are important in your life, they're actually a very small number, and they keep coming back again and again and again. Because they're actually part of your rizq. They're in your rizq. So your company is going to be, you'll keep seeing the same people again and again. All right? Now, and there's tribulation and benefit. You know, some of it's good, some of it's bad. Some people have a very pessimistic view, other people optimistic, especially if you realize it's all from Allah. Allah is the one doing it. Now, here's what's really important to remember. Because Allah has given the human being wealth, and his wealth is a ni'mah, and He placed it in you, and then in His divine decree, He has distributed the arzaq, these provisions amongst people. But some of the rizq of one person, He put with another person. And there's a asbab that means you have to go and get that. Do you see? So there's this thing, here's the person over there, he's got your rizq. It's not his rizq, it's your rizq. But Allah put it in His possession. Now, however you get it, it depends. If it's food that He has that was written for you, He'll invite you over for dinner. He might not even like you, but if it was written for you, you have to come to dinner. Maybe you weren't invited, you show up with so-and-so. Right? And that's rizq. It's there and it's maqsoom. And he can't eat it because it's not for him, it's for you. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said he loved the guest more than anything. He came with his own provision. You're not losing anything by feeding the guest. It's his provision. It wasn't written for you. It's for him. And he leaves with the wrong actions of the house. In other words, it's a kafara when you're kind to a guest and courteous. Allah will remove wrong actions. So the guest is a great blessing from Allah. Now, because the asbab, you have these asbab, and they're very mysterious. People start thinking, my rizq is from Him. That's the ghafla. Because Allah has made the sunnah where He's put your rizq with somebody else. And so people start seeing, He benefits those guys. Maybe I can get something from him too. And so that's where the tam'a comes in. Where you start seeing the sabab and lose sight of the musabbib. You see the means, but you lose sight of the true means. the true musabbab, the cause of those means. And this is what happens. And this is where the tam'a comes in, and this is what's so dangerous. And the biggest sign of this is when you get angry when you don't get what you want. That's the biggest sign. When there's an expectation, it's not fulfilled, you become angry. Now this is obviously not about huquq. In other words, if somebody owes you something and he's not giving you it and he has it, that's a dhulm. And you get angry because it's dhulm. That's not, this is talking about arzaq and what's coming to you and what's yours. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, he said that the rizq, right, is coming to you. He said, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, that Jibreel said to him, لَن تَمُوتَ نَفْسٌ حَتَّى تَسْتَكْمِلَ رِزْقَهَا. No soul will die until it completes the rizq that was allotted to it. It has to complete it. It's amazing. You know, I was on an airplane in Mauritania. We flew from Ni'ma to Nouakchott. And there was a man on the plane up front that we saw get on in a wheelchair and everything. Right when we landed, we were just landing in Nouakchott. And they put the seats down and started doing CPR. He died. And then, even more extraordinary, it's not that extraordinary in Mauritania. The man who was meeting us at the plane was good friends with him. So we learned his whole story. He was like a minister and very well respected person, and he'd become ill. He was only about 44, and he was in Ni'ma, and he was out in the desert recuperating, and he took a shot. Somebody gave him a shot of something, and he went into a coma. They took him anyway. They were bringing him to Nouakchott. The point is, he had an appointment with the angel of death at that place. There he was out in the middle of the desert in Mauritania in a tent. But he was meant to die in Nouakchott. So all the asbab were made so that he could die where he was decreed to die. Because there was no other place he could die. It was maqsoom for him to be in that place at that time and to die there. And so, if Allah, إِذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ أَن يُهْرِكَ عَبْدًا, right, فِي أَرْضٍ هَيَّأَ لَهُ أَسْبَابًا. If Allah wants to destroy somebody in a certain place, He'll give him reasons to go to that place. Right? And it's an amazing thing. So the same is true about rizq. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ said that Jibreel is telling us, all your rizq is written for you. And then he said, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ وَأَجْمِلُوا فِي الطَّلَبِ. So have taqwa of Allah. Don't do anything haram to get your rizq because it's coming to you. وَأَجْمِلُوا فِي الطَّلَبِ. And don't be somebody who's going and begging or asking people. And that was one of the things that the Sahaba took bay'ah with the Messenger of Allah. One of the things of bay'ah was that they didn't ask people for money. That was actually in the bay'ah. That you did not ask people for money. So, the iman should free you from all those concerns. And then he said something, وَلَا يَحْمِلَنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ إِسْتِبْطَاءُ الرِّزْقِ أَنْ يَطْلُبُهُ بِمَعْصِيَةِ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُنَالُ مَا عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا بِطَاعَتِهِ رَوَى Ibn Hibban. He said, don't let the delay of your rizq cause you to be disobedient to Allah. In other words, if it's not coming as soon as you want it to come, don't let that be a cause for you becoming disobedient with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's really important. Everybody, inshallah. The next disease is extended hope. Inshallah, we'll cover that next week. Jazakumullah khairan.